Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cece. Today's video is an update on my Outlander read-along. I'll be talking all about the most recent book in the series, but not for much longer, written in my heart's own blood. So stay tuned to hear about that. Okay, so like I said, today's video is an update on how the Outlander read-along is going for me. I am halfway through, written in my heart's own blood. Absolutely loving it. I will talk about the first half of the book in a minute. I just kind of want to talk about timing and how this read-along is going, how I'm doing with it. It is Sunday, November 14th, so we have 9 days to go until Go Tell the Bees arrives on my doorstep from Amazon, as long as nothing goes wrong, which I am of course worried about, but that's just my personality. So yeah, we have 9 days to go. I can't believe it. I have 9 days to read another 400 or 500 pages. I think I'll make it because I think the excitement will just continue to build, so I'll just keep reading, which will be great. This read-along is going very well, just like with the other books that I've been reading since work started back up. I have been listening quite a bit, so yeah, it's definitely a solid mix of listening to the audiobook version and reading as well. Without the audiobook, I don't think that I would be able to finish, just because I don't have enough time. So yeah, the audiobook is definitely helping if I'm doing a chore or I'm walking to or from school, or, you know, any walks that I take Ollie out for a walk or something like that, listening to the book. So yeah, that's been good. We've been reading this book like in the read-along, like the official read-along, whatever. We've been reading this book for about a week. I'm about halfway through. We have another week to go. So I think I will finish. With the release of Go Tell the Bees, it comes out Tuesday, November 23rd. I am obviously at work that day, and Amazon is supposed to deliver it sometime during the day or before 10 p.m. So will I start on Tuesday? I don't know. Definitely will start by Wednesday. I don't think I'll have the audiobook version on the 23rd. I will only have the print version, so I think I will read slower. I haven't decided yet how I'm gonna do like update videos for that. I don't want to rush through reading. Not that I'm rushing through these readings, but I've read the books before, so it's obviously easier to reread again than it is to read for the first time. So I don't want to rush myself. I don't want to be like, okay, I have to read so fast, I have to like post about this. Like, no, I want to enjoy it. So I think that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm not going to read anything else until I finish it, which is fine. I haven't been reading anything else since I started this Outlander read-along, but I'm gonna keep that up for Bees. I feel like I'll finish before December 1st, but I guess who knows? We'll just have to see how it goes and how much time I have, especially without the audiobook version. I might look into getting it, but I'm not 100% sure if it's ready yet. I can't say for sure if the audiobook releases at the same time as the print version. I feel like it could go either way, so I should do some research on that, and maybe I'll just buy it at the same time. I don't know. I have to see. But I'm very excited. If you can't tell, I'm very excited. On the Monday night before the release, Diana Gabaldon is doing a press event that I'm going to. It's obviously virtual, just with COVID, and obviously like you can't travel to where places you want to go right now. So I'm watching virtually. She's talking about bees. I think she's reading the first chapter. There's like a discussion or something. I don't know. So that's the Monday night at 7 o'clock. My ticket was free, so I'm planning on doing that and just seeing how I like it. If it's not for me, I just won't keep going, but I think it'll be really fun, kind of build that excitement a little bit, and then the book will be out. So Monday at 7, next Monday at 7, not tomorrow, Monday at 7, a week from tomorrow, I need to finish this book. So let's talk about it because it's really good. My notes for this book are literally more words crammed onto 2 pages than any of my other updates. Just a lot happens, and I know I just said An Echo in the Bone is probably my favorite one in this series. This might edge it out. I don't know. I have to finish obviously and like double check how I feel about everything, but I'm absolutely loving this book. So there's a couple of like key things that I want to talk about. And remember, this is only the first half. So I'm on page, I'm just starting chapter 77 and I'm on page 424 and there's 830 pages or so. So I'm about halfway. The book starts, like I said, with An Echo in the Bone, right in the middle of things. A bunch of characters, everyone's back in everyone's in America. Everyone's solidly in America, feet firmly planted on American soil, but they have not all communicated. A lot of misconceptions going on. People don't know what's going on with other people. So that kind of makes the start of this book very interesting, right? We open with Ian digging graves for Jamie and Jenny and, you know, mourning them and really grieving for them a lot. So we start with that kind of emotional punch. I found the first chunk of this book very tense, very emotional. Like Ian's, you know, building these graves. We have this amazing reunion between Claire and Jamie, and then the immediate back to the tenseness and the drama with the revelation that, you know, William and Jamie meet, and it kind of all comes out. William realizes, like, hey, we look so identical. Like, William understands what's happening. Jenny arrives. Claire thought Jenny, like, didn't think she'd ever see Jenny again. And then all of a sudden, just as quickly as he came, he was gone. Jamie and John disappear, kind of leaving this huge mess in their wake. And they go off into the woods, and it kind of calms down a little bit, right? Like the tension eases up, and then it goes right back up to a 10 when John Gray tells Jamie, I slept with your wife. Like, right? They have this huge fight, the violence, like craziness, the tension is back up, and then Jamie just leaves John as a prisoner of these like other like American patriots or rebels. So to me, the start was just such a roller coaster, so emotional, so much stuff happening in that first little bit. I really enjoyed it, but it felt like kind of rolling down a hill, like just a breakneck pace of major events, major revelations, and kind of the emotional turmoil and fallout from all of that. So all of this stuff happens, just absolute craziness, just chaos. And then Jamie he's gotten rid of John Gray, left him as a prisoner. He's walking back, determined to see Claire, kind of have it out with her. Like, what are you thinking, sleeping with John Gray? Like, what's going on? So again, the tension's kind of lessened, right? Like Jamie's on his own, just kind of walking, you know, trying to figure out a way to get back, what he's gonna do when he sees Claire. And then he runs into Dan Morgan, and all of a sudden we're at like a dining room table with George Washington and General Lee and all these other historical characters who turn out to be really important. And the tension is back up to a 10 for me, because here they are discussing their plans for war and how Jamie's now going to be like a general in the army and like a big character in this revolution. And it's super serious. Like, the tension's back up, and then they all leave. And Jamie's back, like, goes out on him. So they have this big dinner, or not this big dinner, they had this big meeting, and then they all kind of get up to leave, and Jamie's back goes out on him. So talk about a way to like break the tension and like stop the action in its tracks, right? Jamie was on his way back. Now he's super delayed. He will not make it back in a timely fashion. His horse has been given away to George Washington, and he's laying flat on his back in like this log cabin with this poor Quaker woman and her kids. And at first she's kind of afraid of Jamie, like she's afraid of all the generals and stuff. I mean, who could blame her? And then it's really funny how it all kind of plays out with these two little girls taking care of Jamie, like walking him to the privy, like saying, oh, we'll help you walk. Meanwhile, they're like 6 and 7 and he's like this ginormous man, right? So I found that really funny. I was so like happy to read that. And just the pace of the writing is so good. Like I loved that, like the tension's building, and then Jamie's delayed for a day and a half because his back went out and like these two little girls and this lady are caring for him. Just so funny and so well done. So I really liked all of that stuff in the real opening of the book. In that, obviously Jamie is not 100% recovered from his back, but he makes it back into the city to see Claire and they kind of have their reunion. I did like this scene. I found it a little stressful to read because it's like, what's Jamie gonna do? What's Claire gonna do? Like, how's this gonna go? But I think she's just so relieved that he's alive, and he, like, she tells him the full story of how she and John Grey kind of got together and why that even happened. And Jamie kind of realizes a little bit that like he overreacted and, you know, everything's gonna be okay. So I just really liked that. The scene in the potting shed I thought was very fun and good. I just liked it all. I liked the reunion a lot. I think the two characters are always better when they're together. I don't like when they're separated usually. So yeah, I just like this a lot. The other thing that I want to talk about with this is just Claire's like sadness about Jamie. Like when she saw he was alive, she immediately started thinking like, oh, we're gonna go back home to the Ridge and like we're gonna kind of stay out of this major conflict and go back to life as per usual. And of course he eventually has to tell her like, no, I'm a general in this army now, like I'm in this fight and we're going to war. And she cries and it's sad, and I just, yeah, I don't know. I found that part really sad. And then knowing what happens later in the book, I haven't got there quite yet. I'm just in the middle of the conflict right now, so I know it's coming. And I just think like, oh, like, I'm kind of with Claire. I wish that they could just go back to the Ridge. But of course it wouldn't be an exciting book if they just stayed home and made plans and saw them through all the way. The other person that I want to talk about, of course, in this whole drama is John Grey. I just feel so bad for the poor guy. I mean, like, this book really puts him through the ringer. He's beaten up, he's a prisoner, he tramps around in the woods by himself. His eye, like his poor eye, that eye stuff grosses me out. So like he has this eye injury and it just sounds horrible. Claire has to do like surgery on it. He's dirty and not fed well the whole time. Like, I just feel bad for him. He has to cut off all his hair. Like, it's just crazy. So yeah, I feel bad for him. All the emotional stuff with William. So early on in the book, like I had said, William figures out that Jamie Fraser is his natural father or his birth father, and he is angry. Like, he is mad. He also figures out that John Grey knew the whole time and never told him, and everyone knew and he's the only one who didn't know, which obviously makes people really angry. So yeah, John Grey spends a lot of time thinking about William, worrying about him, not really sure where he is or what he's getting up to. You know, is he in danger? Is he in trouble? Is he gonna make it? Like, what's kind of going on? So yeah, this whole time I feel really bad for John Grey. I do feel like it's almost a little bit too much John Grey in this book. I don't know. I haven't read the John Grey novels. It's not that I won't read them. I will read them, I'm sure. They're just not like high on my list. I almost feel like this book is a crossover between like a John Grey novel and an Outlander book, because we're getting a lot John Grey in it, which is fine. I like the John Grey character. I just wonder if it's almost too much at this point. But it's an interesting storyline. Like I said, I really empathize with him, so that part is very good. So John and William, it's funny, both characters are thinking about the other quite a bit. I think John feels a tremendous amount of like empathy for William and just that concern of a parent, whereas William just feels very angry with John, but then he'll forget he's angry and he'll think of something like, oh, what would my papa do in this situation? And he goes like, no, don't think about that. Like, so yeah, I found that very interesting. We get quite a bit of William in this book as well. I haven't always been the biggest fan of William, but he's definitely growing on me. I think this book, we really see him being very independent, right? He's not around John Gray very much. They're not writing letters back and forth and getting advice and kind of trading ideas. So I think we're seeing William like turning into a man, right? Like turning into a fully fledged adult who does what they think is right and kind of makes their own choices. I think it's interesting how they're always emphasizing, or how Diana Gabaldon's always emphasizing how much of a Frasier William is, how he's so similar to Brianna and Jamie, where he gets in a temper and just totally loses it. It's funny, they talk about that with the other characters, but I really feel like William's little outburst on the stairs where he like punches a bunch of holes in the wall and kicks things and just rips the house apart. I thought that was very like childish kind of. That's at the very start of the novel. I don't think he would do that again. I don't know, Diana Gabaldon is often saying in the book like, oh, someone's talking to William and they say like, oh, he doesn't guard his expression. He's not like aware of how like clearly he communicates things with his face and eyes. And how Jamie, in contrast, is aware, and so he guards himself a little bit more. So yeah, I think that's interesting. I am enjoying William a lot. I really like about him how he treats like women characters in the book. He's really kind and respectful to everybody, particularly with Jane and Fanny, like two women or girls who don't have any advantages in life. I like that storyline. I'm not sure, like, is he falling in love with Jane? Is it just a fling? I don't really get their relationship totally. Like, I don't know. I have to keep reading. I don't remember that storyline super well from the last time that I read this book, so I'm interested in that. But I think it's showing William to be really like a hero, like Jamie, right? Like he's that same kind of thing where, you know, physically very capable, intelligent, very driven, stubborn, determined, and, you know, helpful to those that are less fortunate than himself. So I like William a lot, definitely growing on me way more since the last book even. I think every book with him, I like him more and more. So that just makes me more excited for Bees, because I think, okay, great, we're probably gonna get a lot more of him, and I'm actually excited for that. Like, I want to learn more about him. So I think that's really great. So you know I have to talk about my favorite couple in the book, of course, Ian and Rachel. So again, I still am in love with them both. I think it's just great. I like in this book that we see them having a couple of key conversations about their relationship. Like early on in the story, we see them, you know, going for like walking somewhere or sitting down and talking about their past history, mostly Ian's. He's slept with a lot of ladies. He's lived a full life. He was married before. He and his previous wife had trouble conceiving children, but he kind of reassures Rachel he doesn't think that'll be a problem for them. Like, very serious stuff. And I really appreciated seeing it because we haven't always seen these kinds of conversations with the major couples in Outlander. Like Claire and Jamie certainly had none of these conversations before getting together, before getting married. Roger and Bree, like, yeah, I guess they had some of these conversations, but neither of them are very like plan it out people. Like, they get married and then Roger decides he wants to change his whole job. Well, they kind of are dating and together, and Brianna decides she's going to leave and travel back to the past. Doesn't tell Roger. Whereas it seems like Ian and Rachel are being really deliberate to be honest with each other and upfront. Like, even though it's hard, like, right? Ian telling her all these things, he thinks, oh, she might disapprove, like, she might not understand. Maybe she would, you know, decide she doesn't want to get married over this, but he still tells her. So I really respect that. I thought it was very well done, very interesting in the book to kind of see how she takes it, see how he delivers that information about his past. There's also a couple of conversations they have, not with each other, but, you know, about their relationship. So I really liked Ian asking Jamie for advice, you know, about his wedding night with Rachel and how he should kind of behave or approach things when they get physical, like what should he do? I just thought that was so awesome, you know? And we've seen that a couple times with Jamie having to kind of do that role with people, that, you know, kind of uncle or fatherly advice. So I really liked that. And it was very funny too. So I enjoyed it a lot. And we see Rachel also asking Claire, Rachel and Dottie together asking Claire, like, okay, like, how can we make it so we don't have kids right away? And, you know, I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. You know, like, you know, just asking for that advice. I just really enjoy those scenes. I'm sure I said this before, I like those scenes where it's the awkward and uncomfortable facts of life situation, but it's handled so well by all the characters, and it's just really sweet and cute. I just love it so much. So the other thing that I want to talk about with Rachel and Ian is not only do we see them developing their relationship and kind of growing as a couple, we also see them both at work in this book a little bit. So Ian has been hired on as a scout for the rebel army or the patriotic army or the American army. So he is kind of doing that job. And then Rachel is assisting her brother, who's a doctor, and Claire quite a bit too, in their surgeries. And she's like a very skilled and competent nurse. So I really liked that. Like, there aren't a lot of times, well, I guess there are. I was gonna say there aren't a lot of times we see the women in Outlander like really working, but that's not true at all. We actually see that a lot. I take that back. Before I even said it, I was like, no, that's not true. I don't know why I like this one particularly. I wonder if it's just because how Rachel's described. Not like me at all. She just seems calm, cool, and collected, and, you know, just very practical, down to earth. And Ian is a very good scout, and just how they kind of work together in this very stressful situation. Like, they're in like a actual war. They're in the middle of this big battle. That's where I left them off right now. So I just really enjoyed seeing that too. And seeing how independent they each are. Like, Ian's a scout. He's doing that. Rachel's a nurse. She's doing that. And then they come together at the end of the day, or the start of the day, or at a mealtime. Then they go off to their separate jobs. I just really like that. I don't know. I just enjoyed it. I've got about 3 more things to cover, and then that's it. Obviously, where I am right now, we are in the middle of this big battle scene. It's taking several chapters, but it's all very interesting. A couple like risky things have already happened to some of our key characters. John Gray almost died. Slashy almost killed someone. He was a prisoner, now he's not a prisoner. Jamie is in the thick of this battle, moving troops around, getting caught up in situations. Claire is tending to the wounded. It's interesting to see her as a surgeon in this time, because of course the army has many surgeons, all men, all except for Denny, who very much disapprove of Claire pretending to be a doctor, as they would say. So that's all very cool. I don't know, I remember this book from last time I read it, so I know something like really scary is coming up. Obviously it all turns out in the end, but yeah, the war is kind of a major character or a major player in this book. So I'm excited to keep reading. I remember details about characters and people. I don't remember details about big events that happen. So I know what happens to the characters during this conflict, but I don't remember like how it all plays out. So I'm enjoying rereading that and kind of getting a better sense of like the grand scheme of things. Also, almost all of our characters are at this event, but they're not all interacting. So the only people who aren't here are Jenny, Marsley, and Fergus. Fergus is here. Actually, that's not even true. Fergus is here. Fergus is here, and Jermaine is here. His little son, and Claire and Jamie's grandson. So yeah, that's very like, everyone's here, the stakes are high, lots of action, lots of risk. So it's a very exciting part to read. I can't remember how much longer this war part goes on, but I am very much enjoying it. It's like, I can't believe that a chapter's over. Like, I turn the page and I see the chapter's over and there's another chapter and we're still in the same conflict. It's just another person's perspective or another situation. So it's very exciting. Definitely like a page turning part of the book. Talking about the change of pace of this book, we seem to be done with the letters. How many letters have we read? I mean, letters from Claire and Jamie to Brianna and Roger living in the future. I wonder if we've even read one this book. We just seem to be done with them. Either Brianna's not reading them or they're not reporting that they've read them. Claire and Jamie aren't writing them. Claire does make a comment in this book like, oh, I realized, you know, things have been so crazy, I haven't even written to Brie. And it's like, okay, so I guess we're kind of done with that. It's interesting. I liked the letters in the last book. I don't know if everyone did. I really enjoyed them. So not that I miss them. I don't miss them because this book is so fast paced, but it's interesting that they're just gone. They just kind of have stopped writing them, stopped reading them. Yeah. Okay, to go back to the Roger and Bree storyline, they have kind of become two separate storylines. We have Brianna and the kids living in the 80s, and now we have Roger, who has traveled even further back in time to when Jamie was a teenager. Luckily, he's not around. He is in France, but Roger is in Scotland. I want to say it's like 1730, something like that. I'm not sure. He meets Jenny, but as a young woman, not married even, and now she's a granny and she's a widow. He meets Jamie and Jenny's father at Lollybrock. So of course, Roger has gone to the distant past to search for Jemmy, his son, who was kidnapped. Searching for Jemmy, his son, who was kidnapped, thinking that he'd been sent to the past. But of course, that was all a lie. He had not been sent to the past. He's still living in the 1980s. Brianna manages to get him back. It's quite tense. Again, I don't think Brianna handles this very well. I think she should have, I don't know what she should have done. I don't know. I feel bad criticizing her. Isn't that weird? I feel bad criticizing like a fictional character. That does sound very strange. I do feel bad criticizing her. Extremely stressful situation. I don't know what she should have done. This is why I think they shouldn't have moved to Scotland. I think they should have stayed in America where they had more of a support system. Because Fiona and Ernie, they're kind of friends, like obviously aren't cutting it. They don't, you know, they don't do what Brianna needs them to do, which is simply keep my kids at your house for 24 hours, please. Not a hard ask, really. So yeah, Brianna kind of deals with that situation a little bit. She gets her son back. She scares off temporarily, kind of, I think, Rob Cameron and his friends. She has Ernie and Fiona in her corner. She has the headmaster of Jemmy's school in her corner, kind of helping her out. And then she leaves to America as well. So the part that I read, we don't see them go to America. We see her talk about it. And then we see a little scene with Joe Abernathy getting a note from her saying, gone to visit Granny and Grandpa. So obviously, like, she goes back to the past, and Joe reads in the note from her, I've taken the kids. No mention of Roger. So it's scary because they're all split up, right? Roger is in the far past with his cousin, William Buckley Mackenzie, Buck, and Roger and Mandy, Jemmy, and Bree are maybe going back to the past too to try and hook up with Claire and Jamie. I'm not sure. We've gotten very little of their storyline other than the drama surrounding the kidnapping and the escape from the kidnapping. Roger's story in the far past has been very interesting. We reacquaint ourselves with several people. We see Black Jack Randall again. Roger kind of has this crisis of faith of, you know, how can he intervene? Should he intervene? Like, if he intervenes, what will change? All that's very cool. Roger finds the dog tags left by his dad, so he kind of is on the hunt for that now. It's really interesting. It just isn't connected to the central story, so it's hard to get really invested. And we've had not very much of it, truly not very much of that, either of those storylines. So I'm hoping that there's more in kind of the second half of the book. I like Roger's storyline a little bit better than Bree's. The far past is very interesting. I'm personally interested in it. And we meet another time traveler. I think we meet Galis Duncan again. There's been hints of it. We haven't met her yet in the part that I'm at. So that part I find really interesting. I'm excited to see how it kind of all turns out. So I'm enjoying that part a lot for sure. So those are my final thoughts on Written in My Own Heart's Blood. I am loving this book. Like, I am loving this book. I don't know, when I finish, I'm gonna have to, I've said this before, when I finish, I'm gonna have to do a final ranking. This might beat out an Echo in the Bone for me. I don't know. I really will have to think about it as I finish reading. I'm reading faster and faster, which is great. It's because I'm so excited about Bees coming out, like I already said. So yeah, I'm totally enjoying this read along. This book is a 10 out of 10 for me so far. So yeah, I'm pumped to keep reading. I'm pumped to get the next book in my hands so soon. So yeah, all very exciting things. Thank you so much for watching. If you are a friend of mine and you're watching to be supportive, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you're watching this video because you're a huge Outlander fan like me, please comment below on how the read along is going for you, if you are doing it, or if you're just super excited for Bees like I am, say that as well, because it'd be cool to find other fans. Again, thanks so much for watching. If you have a second, if you don't mind liking this video and subscribing to my channel, I'd really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.